So moving on from all this exciting news, we have tonight a more in-depth review of the newly released Candlekeep Mysteries, which came out yesterday. It is hot off the press, and there he is with his sticky fingers upon it, disappearing into the ether. There we go.
There it is.
Ross has a copy of the book. It's very, very shiny.
Yes.
Now, in order to fully describe this a little bit better, with a little bit of art, we're going to be passing over to Ross, but I'm going to be moving on to our presentation screen for a little bit of the artwork inside. And whilst we do that, Ross, we've got a question from Steph.
Yes.
And that question is that, not to go on a side tangent, but did Ross have a full beard last week and I just didn't notice? It is looking rather... Have you been massaging oil into it?
Yeah, look at the hair as well. I mean, the people in the audio won't be able to see this, but look how blooming long it is. Just goes all curly. Anyway, that's beside the point. Speaking of short and curly, let's talk.
I can see you went straight to that mystery in the book.
Yeah,
hey, Ross. So... let me set some atmosphere.
Okay, go for it.
Oh!
I mean,
I think he's going to burn his house down. I'm not.
I mean, we can't see it. Oh no!
I mean,
there you go.
I mean, there he is. He's
got a candle. There we go. I mean, I don't have one. So
like the visions of Christmas future. There he is, sitting there with his big candle. Now, what we're going to be doing is, Ross, can you give us a quick rundown of what are these Candlekeep mysteries that everyone's talking about?
Good. Okay, so this is a Scoss review. This is Scott and Ross combined together to form the ultimate review machine called Scoss. The Scoss machine.
Say Scoss one more time.
Scoss. So
every time they say Scoss, I get 4 pence. So there we go. Boom. Say it again.
Scoss. So today we're going to be talking about the shiny new book from Wizards of the Coast that they gave us as a lovely little review copy, which thank you to Wizards of the Coast. Big yourselves up for sending that out.
Free stuff. Woo.
Yeah. So what Candlekeep Mysteries is a collection of 17 short standalone D&D adventures ranging from level 1 all the way up to 16. Most of the adventures are centered around Candlekeep. And in the review, we can talk about like what's in the book. We won't go into detail, and I don't think we'll spoil anything about the adventures, me and Scott. But we can give you like an overview of what we thought about like all of it together. So yeah, and do you want me to carry on? Do you want me to carry on, James? Or
yeah, well, you can do. You can do.
I'll just carry on.
You can carry on. So obviously you've got these mysteries and stuff like that, and
This is true.
There's been a lot. I've noticed a lot of talking about this on social media. People are getting really, really excited about this.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz about it. I think it's because they've got a lot of writers in from all different backgrounds to come together to create this like really cool like product. I think.
Yeah, and those writers are also quite active on social media, as they should be as well. For some of them, it's like their first like professional TTRPG gig as well. So a lot of people have been like super chuffed about being involved in the family. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a slightly more diverse crew writing this one than there is normally. But there has been hype about this. I have noticed. Super hype about this book. Yeah,
there's so like the project lead on this book was Christopher Perkins, famous Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master, who he also works at D&D. He's worked on like 500 different products. He's also one of the architects of 5th edition. He's not only he literally every time you see him in like these videos, you're like, he has not aged at all. He's just ageless. He's not only the lead on this book, but he's also created a adventurers himself as well. He did it as a sort of example to the rest of the writers as to what was required in the book. So he did one called the Book of the Raven, Book of Raven or Book of the Raven, and he wrote that as an example for the rest of the writers. So this is kind of like the vibe that we're going for in this book, etc., etc. The art director is Kate Irwin, along with a load of illustrators. Now, me and Scott were talking earlier, like there is so many illustrators in this, but
been like sort of pouring through it because there's a couple
Yeah.
of real like beautiful standout pieces in the
I
book.
mean, there really are. Ross did send me a little bit of the artwork. We unfortunately we do not have a PDF version of the book, so obviously the artwork we've got is slightly limited. But the moment everyone's looking at this rather imperious-looking gentleman with the white beard and his sort of hair bun, could even be an old Dan right there. Looks great, so detailed, beautiful, beautiful artwork.
For a
Yeah.
like that.
That is from one of the ones. I think Scott, you had a look at that one, didn't you? It's the
Yeah, it's the Chinese martial arts themed one, where you have to fight that particular order of monks.
Yeah.
That's there's a scandalous magic item in that adventure that I'll go into later on. It's
Nice.
scandal and uproar throughout the community so far upon its near whisper. Yeah, I'll go into it later.
Yes, and just to point out to everybody, as we said many, many times before, Dangerous Wednesdays is a spoiler-free zone. Now, obviously, this
Yes.
book is particularly sensitive for that because these are mysteries that you will play with your groups, maybe be a part of. We are not going to tell you anything about what occurs in the adventures. We're just going to give you a bit of an overview. Ross has been very careful not to say, like, and at the end, none of that. So this is all sort of stuff. And this artwork is more just to give you an idea of some of the flavour.
And you can see it on my background, like there's this art as well. And the art throughout the book is really really good, really fantastic, like art. And you won't be disappointed with the art. And the way the art is presented as well is similar all the way through the book. You're not going to get variations of style. It's got one style, but they're all very beautiful images and things, which I really like. I don't know. What would you say about the images, Scott? Like the art?
Yeah. No, they are banging. There's a couple of ones that I really like to sort of like highlight and point out, but I shan't. But yeah, there's a couple that spring to mind that are real nice pieces.
We've got a dusty bookshelf here.
Yeah,
we've got
that's
a couple of little.
I can't see what that is, so
Dusty bookshelf.
I'm like, I could be having one in my head, and there's something else completely else going on whatever the screen is.
Yeah, it's there. It's a bookshelf.
It's a bookshelf.
But yeah, so let's get into the book. I think
it's worth noting that when me and Ross were talking about this, we were messaging about this and sort of like comparing notes and stuff. Ross did say to me a couple of typos, and he said he was going to keep this review spider free. Just for anybody who's concerned about spider reveals, he said he was going to keep it spider free. And then when I asked him about his notes, he just said it's just a loose thong that he can see. So there's spider.
And then he said, "I'm using all this." And I went, "What, the script or the fact that I got all those things wrong?" And he went, "No, you know." And I was like, "Okay."
So we might have to mark this NSFW. And if it is NSFW, that's naughty spider fancy wear. There you go. That's what NSFW stands for.
There we go.
Nice. So as you get into the book, the first few sections are all about running these adventures and how you do it. It also highlights what conversations you should have with your players before you do so. Before you start your campaign, it helps you as a DM, if you're new, talk about any triggers and sensitive subjects, which is nice. I think that's quite a good thing going forward for D&D to put in there. I know it's a little thing, but it's a good thing for new DMs to see.
They're new books. Sorry, James.
Oh, I was just going to say, is this a new thing? Is this something else they've been introducing, or has this been a sort of tried and tested?
Kind of. It's a new gradual thing. They are hinting at this more and more, and every new release they're getting safety tools and things you should be doing with players. They like session zeros get a lot of mention, I think, in Tasha's as well. So this is slowly becoming like drummed into the DNA of their books.
I think that's lovely. Very, very good to hear that.
Yeah. And after that, it goes into detail about how you can slip these adventures into your campaign if you're already running something. It gives you other locations in this universe as libraries where you could introduce these stories, which I think for a new DM especially is quite good. You might not know all about the world, so it's quite nice that it gives you that thing of, oh, this is where you can possibly put it in if you don't want to put it in Candlekeep. And it gives you that. It's just an extra tool at the beginning of the book to help you with that, I think,
which
I like.
Real key. That's nice because a big theme of this book is that every adventure starts with the players are in Candlekeep and they get handed a book, and the book is the focus, which is lovely. But being able to have that little, this is what you could do otherwise. This is how this could have, people are going to be taking, with an anthology thing, you're going to be taking a slice, like an adventure at a time, and putting it into your campaign every now and then. So, having alternative ways of doing that, alternative tools of doing that is quite a nice little touch, actually. And something that other books might not have bothered considering as well. They might not have bothered just been like, deal with it. This is the adventure. But to give you the customization abilities there, that's quite nice.
Yeah. And then he goes into talking about Candlekeep itself. There's quite a few pages on that.
How many candles does it keep, Ross?
2.
More than this?
Is this something we can buy from IKEA? Can I get my candle keeper to my Uskleplude to go on the wall and hold all of my candles?
Yes, you can if you want.
Yes, you heard it here first.
Weirdly, in Candlekeep, it has everything. It has like magic on all the flames in Candlekeep in case fires, and
literally
it's a
my
library.
Literally my next question was like, which spell-addled mage decided to buy a load of candles around some very dangerous and important magical items? Why?
Oh yeah, there's which I like. I like that it explains that, and then also it talks to you about the look of Candlekeep as your players go into the gates, which are really hard to get into, which I didn't realize. You go into the gates of Candlekeep, you have to give a book to them that to go in there. That's like the price of going into Candlekeep. So you give them a book and they look at it, they give it to a scribe. The scribe goes off and they come back a bit later and they either go, yeah, that's all right, you can come in, or they go, nah, this is shit. This is just a menu from a pub.
Hey, look,
and they
it's
give
a
it
really
back
good pub, all right? And they do, the roast on Sunday is really something special. Go scribe that.
So that's good. And and then it talks to you also so not only the look, it talks about the defenses that the place has and the decorum, and it even goes into detail about the hierarchy of the sages that live and work there. Like there's different versions. They're called the Avowed. And their structure in Candlekeep, which I really like. I think it just rounds this city off. If you don't know anything about Candlekeep, which I didn't going into it, it's really good as a first DM to go, cool, this is cool. I just know about this one place and I can focus on just this one place on my adventure, if you're doing a one shot.
Yeah, and also there's a couple of things that immediately just reminded me, actually. When we played our first 3.5 campaign, I remember Dan's got a rather nifty map of the Sword Coast and stuff like that, and Candlekeep, that name just seems to jump off the page at you. And I remember asking Dan about it. It was like, the sort of repository of knowledge. But of course, on a practical basis, it's such a useful sort of catch-all, isn't it? It's just like, you need to find out something, go to Candlekeep, and you've got somewhere there that you could theoretically get the answer to if it's been written down, there's a damn good chance that it's going to be at Candlekeep. So I love that kind of dynamic and the mechanics behind it.
If you think it's basically in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf goes off and goes to read about the Lord of the Rings, that's basically what Candlekeep is. It's just a place where, but the cool thing about Candlekeep is you can't actually go into the library itself on your own. You have to have prior permission by the Grand Masters of Candlekeep to go in there. Otherwise, you'll be given an assistant who gets all the stuff for you, to depending on what you want for.
Out of interest, Dan, did we ever go to Candlekeep? I don't think I've ever been there as a player.
There was a short aside in there because one of the players was from there, and so there was a mini quest that went to Candlekeep.
Right,
and it was given obviously this was 7 or 8 years ago. It was based very heavily on Baldur's Gate 1 in terms of what was in there, so quite light on detail of what's actually inside the keep itself, because you never really need to go in there.
Jerry was playing the archaeologist gnome Benjamin Stovepipe Truffle, and we had to go there to find something. I think that might have been one of the very few games that I missed. But
I know exactly why James wasn't there, because it nearly had a real world fight. It was because Jerry's character's dad was in mortal peril in Candlekeep and was about to be killed, and James rather than going with him to help it, went off to loot some dragon's treasure
Oh,
and got
yeah.
very rich.
That's right, we did, and we fought the creature that could one-shot
Killed a
us that we didn't
devourer.
realise, and we just went and casually killed this thing that were in mortal peril, didn't realise, got the loots, and really made Jerry very cross, and also, of course, got lots of loot. And it was only afterwards you were like, oh, that was really dangerous.
It was
Oh,
an
well.
abject lesson as a GM in not trusting the dice to mete out justice, because I was like, all right, James is doing this slightly mean thing, or James's character is doing this slightly dickish thing where he's not helping out the other character. He's going to go and get rich, but that's fine because this dungeon is statted for 4 people and is really hard, so he's definitely going to meet this monster and die, and that'll be kind of just comeuppance. Nope, natural 20s all the way through, killed everything, took all the money, learned nothing from it.
No, I learnt that Candlekeep was great. And it made Jerry very angry for some reason. And David makes a point. Candlekeep is the Faerun Wikipedia, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Although it's not.
Scott looks like he doesn't agree with that, though.
No, no. I do. It's a great analogy. It's just not run by Fae. It's run by humans. But that would be an easy way of explaining it. Like complete magical, like repository of knowledge that basically somehow forms like the internet. Unfortunately, you do actually have to go to Candlekeep in order to get the knowledge. But that's but that's the analogy where the analogy doesn't work. But I do like that analogy. But yeah, the whole point is that in this book you go in to Candlekeep and each adventure starts with a book, and I love that personally because we all have adventures through books. We all have that overwhelming thing of going into either a good bookshop or a good library, and there is just a sea of energy, brimming potential adventure energy all around. And if you open one thing, then what could happen? Like wonders could happen. And in literally the starts of these games, like if you follow the book's rules for doing it, then literally the characters are given a book. And what's nice is that, and obviously I won't go into the descriptions, but they do describe the actual book. You get handed a book and you get given the details of the tome and like what it feels like, what it smells like, what it looks like, what's in it, what's around it, what it what gives off, that kind of thing. So it gives you that whole book feel, and then the adventure starts, like all great adventures,
I like go on Dan.
How Candlekeep centric, how setting centric are the descriptions in this? Because obviously this is a game of pick up adventures that you're designed to be slotted into another thing. Do you have to find a way to get your party to Candlekeep, or
no
you just do your own thing and they get a book and you're off?
You can just have the book in any library. In like if say they visit a town and I don't know, an NPC just drops a book on the floor or something, and then they pick it up, or it's literally that. You don't have to set it all in Candlekeep. It gives you a lot of background of Candlekeep because obviously that's where the library is, and that's where like all these books could start from. But you don't necessarily have to do that. I like that in this book as well that it gives you like resident NPCs that you might meet. Like it tells you about all the different people that you might meet there. One in particular I like is a chaotic good ogre called Little One, and he's wearing a band of intellect around his head, and he got it from killing a halfling. And after he killed this halfling, he put it on, and then immediately felt regretful and like wanted to better himself. So then he came to Candlekeep, and now he just reads books all the time to just better himself. And you can meet him in the hearth, or the hearth or hearth, which is weird because it's like a TARDIS, because you go in and it's bigger in the inside because it uses extra dimensional magic. But yeah, go on.
It's interesting in correcting how things are said. Marshall did point out that I was using, of course, the Cockney patois to say Faerun. Faerun, mate, Faerun. But I was using a Cockney, mate. That's right.
I literally thought you meant Faerun Wikipedia. As
Faerun, a Faerun Wikipedia that Faerun.
Faerun Wikipedia.
Yes,
okay,
apologies.
Then yes, the analogy stands, but you still have to go into the Faerun.
yes, exactly. So.
And it gives you like the locations as well, like all the different things. It gives you a map as well, an A4 map that you can find all your stuff on.
About the maps, yeah. So I've got so many things to say. Wait, but yes, as in terms of what Dan was saying, as is played, like you can set it anywhere. As is played, you go into Candlekeep, get a book, and generally speaking, generally speaking, all those books seem to go whoomph and just yeet you off to another like plain dimensional country. So that was the thing I was going to say with the books. There was something else as well. What were you saying?
Careful about the spoilers.
No, about the locations, the NPCs, the
It'll come back to me.
Okay.
That was it. It's because it's an anthology kind of thing. It's not really an entire campaign. So you're not playing levels 1 to 16 inside of Candlekeep. They're meant to be, and this is quite a refreshing, nice, easy on the brain kind of thing. It's individual adventures that you just take and drop into your own campaign whenever you want. It's like a nice little like a break for you, especially if you're running homebrew campaigns, and you've got to mid-level and there's a bit of like, oof, I've done a lot. Where's everyone going right now? Let's have a nice little compact, self-contained adventure. And that's the thing about these adventures; they are all self-contained. They start and then they finish, and there's very little that leads on from them after that. So you can have one thing that happens within Candlekeep or beyond, and then that is it. It is done with, which is quite nice and it is refreshing. But could you, Ross, given that we are quite chaotic people, could you run an entire campaign based on these adventures where one adventuring party go to Candlekeep and never leave?
Yeah, you could do. That'd be quite interesting.
I'm not sure what you get from it. There's no link throughout.
There's not a link.
Mad Mage, where
you just constantly find these books. You're like, oh, for fuck.
yeah. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe you've got a party of scribes. Maybe they're deeply interested. But anyway,
they're the librarians, and every time someone returns a book and they have to take it back to the shelf, you're really nervous. And you're just like, oh, it's like Russian roulette. Will this one send us to another dimension?
It is interesting, because we're getting a lot of love for these this idea of these stories we can put in. Neo says he likes shills and games, but I don't think he'd want to watch players try to level by building their library proficiencies, which is almost immediately followed by Amy saying, oh, that would be fun, become a real bookworm. So there are those players out there, like, you could be. And also, we talked about it before, having an adventuring party made entirely of academics, so the more academic classes, so wizards and alchemists and things like that. That's something I'd like to give a go one time.
That is touched upon another thing there. We've and if you want an adventuring party of all bards, then we've got that. Anyway, the scribe, the sort of academic approach to this kind of thing, like, what about your other kind of characters? There is an adventure in one of the many things here that is set. The book in question that you get given is actually a play. So already you've got a massive hook there for bards and other people instead, and that becomes quite meta. There's a thing within a thing going on. That's actually my favorite named title game, which is the Curious Tale of Wisteria Vale. Which I love that title.
Nice. Yeah, it is a good title.
That was a good one. That one.
Yes.
Should we talk about the adventures, Scott? Let's go because we pretty much
briefly skim over them. We'll mention a couple. We won't go into too much detail.
Hold on, I got a little bit.
Keep
16...
it light and fluffy, guys.
Yeah. No, I was just going to talk. So shut up, James. Yeah, shut up.
I control your sound. You annoy me, I shall turn you off.
So the 16 adventures have a plethora of different writers from all over the TTRPG communities. Some of the ones that I didn't realize when looking at the back of the book, because you get a little biography of all the different writers, is Amy Vorpahl, who is a comedy actor and writer who's starred in Newsroom and The Mindy Project, which is cool. She wrote Candlekeep Deconstruction.
Which, by the way, is all spelt with K's, because there's a wizard who decided that all hard C's should be K's. And I love that kind of little eccentric foible there. I love that. Already like, I agree with that wizard. Anyway, sorry, Ross, Karen. And
you've got Tamor Rehman, I think, one of the creators behind Magic the Gathering, who did Zerkran's Zephyrian Tomb. I can't do that justice. If I get the name wrong, then I'm sorry. But yeah, so you've also got a lot of other people that haven't written for D&D before, but are in the TTRPG community. One of the people that I really like is Daniel Kwan, who wrote the Chinese influenced the Book of the Alchemy. I think that's really good. And also Dan played a monk in our 5e game, and this adventure really talks about key and key points as this whole thing, kind of like the Force, but but it explains it in a way like in the adventure, which is really interesting. That hasn't really been done.
Yeah, Daniel Kwan does a good job on that. Actually, that's a real nice sort of embellishment on the entire system. It sort of really fills it out. It's worth a read.
Yeah. And do you know, you've anticipated one of my questions, which was that are these stories written by different people? Because actually that it reminds me of Skyrim, and they got around the problem of dungeons being too similar by getting different people to map out the different caves and dungeons and stuff like that, and it works beautifully because of course these are different books. As if they were from a library that you could then find written completely different styles by different people, different angles. That is awesome. Very happy to hear that.
And you hit the nail on the head there. Like that's part of the reason I think the goodness in bringing other people on board to do these different things, because they are all different books and they are all distinct adventures with different themes. Like it is easily accountable once you skim through most of them to be like, oh yeah, that's the one that has this in it, or that's the one that has that in it. I know that like the color palette of that one is really easy to bring back to mind. Like it's nicely done. There is something, however, that I think both Ross and I agree on that we don't like about this book in order to give this a full review. I thought you were going to.
No, you go.
So this is here we go. Have we reached a Scoss breakup here? Is it the end of the dream?
No, we're in agreement about this. It's the controversial lack of an appendix. It's had people up in arms. The TTRPG community been like, "There's no appendix. How am I going to reference all these monsters?" And the book, like most source books, like is introducing a lot of new magic items and monsters as well. Is one that I really want to talk about, but there is no appendix at the back to refer to flick back and to scan down. Now that is just a glaring error, or it's intentional to go with the books for like small self-contained small adventure design in order to keep things compact and within it. So when you're reading through an adventure, all the things you're going to need are going to be either one page away from each other. But then, some people don't necessarily read like that. There are some homebrew people who are going to come to this book and be like, oh, I want to use that library themed monster and try and find it in the appendix, and it won't be there. There is no appendix. So, some people, I've read some people defending this. I personally would prefer an appendix, because some people say with the self-contained adventures, everything's there in one page or two, because you're reading from one adventure at a time. Still, you could do that and have an appendix at the end.
I agree with Scott. Like, especially if you want to take monsters from different adventures and put it in a different campaign, you have to like trawl through and go, oh, which one was it in? And that's a bit frustrating.
It is. If it makes you feel any better, David says that must have had an appendectomy. We love a pun here at the Danger Club, so thanks very much. Keep them coming.
I should point out that the book does actually have an appendix. It's an adventure. It's called Alcazar's Appendix. That's the level adventure. So ironically, it does have an appendix, but not one you can use.
This is not
an adventure that referred to other things that happened in all of the other adventures. Wouldn't that be incredible?
So these so as I was saying, like all these are from different writers. They all start the same, like Scott said earlier. You start with a book. Now, after that, these adventures probably take around 2 to 3 sessions to complete, I would say. Would you say that, Scott?
Yeah.
Around 2 to 3.
There's a couple you could maybe get done in one, the smaller ones maybe the lower level ones, but still, you probably want to have a couple at minimum.
But like Scott said, there's so many different themes here. Like if you want a story about ghosts, there's one in there. Or if you want a story of like an escape room or something like that, there's one in there. If you want a story about curses or whatever, like there's something in there for everyone.
Everything you'd want.
And there's a lot. The writing in this is really good, and there's a lot of memorable NPCs. Like from the adventures that I looked at. That's one thing that stood out to me, is there's quite a lot of NPCs that are quite memorable. Yes, go on, Dave.
Can I ask on the NPCs, because I've been hearing about this there being non-gendered NPC lists.
Yes,
which was something that was really interesting to me. Is that something throughout the whole thing? Are all of the NPCs agender, or is this just specific things?
Some are, some aren't. Some and at the beginning of the book it says that. It says if it doesn't say human male, blah blah blah, then obviously then it's non-gendered. It doesn't really matter.
Definitely a few in the sections of the book that I've read. There's definitely quite a few NPCs that are
terrific.
Which I think is which is good.
I think it's really good.
Well, maybe. I'm not sure. I think it leans towards the putting it onto it's that thing of kind of, it's a bit like what with Tasha's and with the racial changes. It's the if you want to have diversity in your game, well, that's on you. You do it. We just give you the tools and you have to put it in. I think I'm more I'm more militant on the put fucking non-binary people in your game.
Yeah, the sections that I read are ones where they list it is actually described as the player. The DM notes are this particular NPC the pronouns used.
Oh, nice. Good.
The NPC is they as opposed to he or she.
Nice.
But
Got a quick question,
yes,
just for Karen, because it's Neo. If you do want questions, do chuck them in because they will get read out. But Neo says, can you ask if the adventures are level independent or are they tied to specific levels? Which is something I was going to ask. Similar, that's would you level up during these adventures, or by the sounds of it, probably not.
You've got I in the monster bits, you've got I assume you've got. I think you do. You've got experience points for the monsters, haven't you? I think, Scott. So you will gain experience. It doesn't say specifically you will gain 3,000 for completing this quest.
Which I always sort of hodgepodge anyway. Like when when books tell you that, I'm like, there might be loads of other things my players did. They might have approached something like a different way, or they might have done something particularly badly, but done something else really amazingly that the book doesn't cover. So I might need to assign experience points in my own way, as opposed to being told how to do it. But but then these adventures are short enough that perhaps, like Ross is saying, you might not level up. Want to get in a quick one about the maps.
Oh, just before that, because I think I managed to hijack Neo's question. Are they level independent or are they tied to specific levels?
They are tied to specific levels. So there is the ones I've seen are this is an adventure for X level party. This is an adventure for X level party. That goes all the way up to 1 to 16.
Yeah. So there's two. I think there's 2 level 4 adventures, and the rest are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It does say on here that you don't have to be that level. You just have to scale it down to. I mean that's more for probably advanced DMs that can do that. But yeah, so I wouldn't say they have got a specific level, but you could change it if you want.
Cool.
Scott, talk about your favorite. Go on. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to mention about the maps. They use, in amongst all the lovely art in this book, they use Dyson Logos old school style maps, OSR style maps. They are simple, stripped down, grey and tan things, which are very descriptive, but not flowery. Sorry.
Now, I have got a graphic example of one of the maps, but I was a bit afraid to show it. Is that going to give too much detail away if we show one of the maps very quickly?
I'd say no. I'd say, spoilers, I'd say probably not. What do you think, Ross?
I don't think it would. I think it's just you won't be able to know anything because it doesn't have anything of the descriptions of anything. So
okay, so just to back up Scott's picture, here is one of those maps. So there we go. Lovely old styling there. I agree with Scott. That's a classic map.
And some people, and there's been a bit of discussion about this, and I'm not sure where I stand on it. There's some people that say they love the old school thing. It's simple, it's easy to read, especially from a DM's point of view. You're looking at in a functional kind of attitude and let yourself and the players add all the embellishment to it. But there's some people that are saying that that maybe it should have been updated. The style and stuff should have been updated with the brighter, bolder, more colorful 5e to match that. We could have had brighter, more fanciful maps with more beautiful stuff on them in this book, along with everything else, like the art style and the general theme of 5e and what have you. Not sure really where I stand on that. I'll let you guys decide where you stand on that. If you like the OSR maps, or if you think you should have a fancier style.
I wonder if they made that choice because obviously it's more in keeping as if you had that map in a book. And obviously these are supposed to be books. So maybe if you want to show your NPCs, here we go, NPC, show your players these maps from the book. Maybe that's where you're going to go. But
I think maybe they did that maybe because it's maybe printer friendly as well. Like when you print them off.
I mean, given that this will be released as a full price book, I would be, I would be ashamed for them to be using that as an excuse. But there must be a better reason for it, and maybe it is just easier to read. I don't know. I've read all kinds of maps before, bizarre maps. There is, however, a gorgeous fold out map of actual Candlekeep in the hardprint copy.
It's on my shelf, but I can't get it. Yeah, it's like a poster size. It's like the version you get in the book, but it's bit more expanded. It's double the size, obviously, like probably triple. But yeah, you get a nice poster to rip out of the back, which is nice.
Very
You put it on
pretty.
your wall. Yeah.
And that's then what we're seeing obviously in Ross's screen, and what he's actually physically got is the main cover. There is the alternative cover, the special alternative cover of this book, which is just wonderful.
Yes, it is. And I was going to ask about this because I've got it permanently down there at the bottom of the screen, and you've got this sort of classic Victorian-esque cover, really, isn't it? So it's beautiful, gold leaf kind of thing.
Yeah. I like it. I think it looks really nice. That's the limited edition, I think, or the special edition, I think.
How much is the special edition? Because I like special editions.
I'm not sure. We have to have a look.
The special edition one is, but when shops open again, go and buy that special edition cover from your local game store.
Yeah,
they will want your money. You want to get it now, get the PDF, and then when the local game stores open again, go and buy that particular cover, because there's a lot of people talking about how much they want this particular cover, and it is wonderful. On the back, there's this gold sort of like filigree style beholder, this print of a beholder, and it's just like spread out. It's amazing looking. It's gorgeous.
Yes.
Should we talk about? Go on.
No, I was going to say, and just echoing Scott there, do support your local game shops. I know we keep shouting them out, but they're going to need you more than ever. Looks like the special edition, Neo says, is about $50 in the US. So
$50. That's not bad.
That's not bad for a special edition. And I can tell you now, if go and check, there's a tiny little rubbish version of it at the bottom, but that looks beautiful. Ross, let's carry on. Now, we are going a little bit long tonight. I'm aware we're over the 8-minute mark, but I want to give this 8 o'clock mark. But I want to give the guys time because this is a special book. So go on, Ross.
All I was going to say is maybe we should talk about our favourite adventures or adventure, and then talk about the good things, the bad things, and like that's it, and like the final sum up. Maybe that's probably for me. My favorite is the Book of Cylinders. This adventure is really good, and without spoiling it, they bring back a monster or a race from D&D, AD&D, Advanced D&D 2nd edition. I mean, I could tell you who it is.
No, Ross. I will give you such a bollocking after the show if you do that.
they bring back.
You don't know this, guys. He does this after we go off air. He tells us off if we.
Oh yes,
come close.
We're going to get this ruined for us, but no, Ross, no.
So anyway, they bring back an interesting race from the old Monster Manual, which I really like, and they bring a bit more life into it and light to it, which I like. That one really stands out to me, and it's a classic D&D like story. A guy comes to you, goes, can you do this mission for me? I will give you gold. And they give you gold, and it's like that's the simple setup. So it could be anywhere, and I like that. I'm a fan of the old style. Do this for money. Yeah. So that's one to watch out. Book of Cylinders, it's called. So have a look at that one. So Scott, go on.
There's a couple of just the last things I want to get in here. One of the monsters introduced in this book amongst the various adventures is a monster called a Skitterwidget, and it's a delightful little many-legged dog roach construct that is like the guardian of something, but these things mate and breed, and they can create young, and the young are called kiddie widgets, which the Skitterwidgets protect like with their lives, right? And even if like it's not their own offspring, they will still go out of their way to protect it. And the pictures of those are just like these adorable things. You can just see every adventurer coming across them and be like, well, I'm not going to kill this. I'm gonna this is now my loyal friend, and I will protect it.
Do you think it's going to be the big Christmas, the must-have? You got to get a Skitterwidget, but a Skitterwidget isn't just for Christmas.
That's from the Amy Vorpal one. She's also got a couple of her NPC names as well. I just want to shout out, and I won't tell you what they do or anything. Some of her NPC names in this are also called Stonky and Rooster Muffin. Just in general, Amy Vorpal, I love your names. They're just wonderful. They're very good.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, one last thing I want to mention. Sorry, Ross. Sorry. Was the controversial magic item. The controversial magic item. I won't tell you which adventure it comes from, but it is the soul catching gloves, and this has already been mentioned by Ted from Nerd Immersion. The soul catching gloves, where you can heal yourself by by punching people. The amount you can heal and the logistics of adding it to perhaps a monk character with flurry of blows have raised a few eyebrows in terms of now. Now monks are invincible, but
Yes.
the ritual needed to properly activate these things, the soul catching gloves, is I don't know if you looked over at Ross, but the ritual involved is pretty horrific if you want to properly activate them. So I'm not sure goodly characters are going to be using them, but the soul catching gloves have caused a little bit of a stir.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I there are loads of favorite bits in it, but I'll just talk about the good bits and the bad bits, or the things that could maybe be improved about the book, and then that's it for me. So I think that it's good. The good things I like about it are, I like that it tells you the ins and outs of Candlekeep, and then it goes into detail about that, especially if you're a new DM and you want to set it in this place. It's good, and it gives you all the information to do that. So if you want to run a one shot with your friends, you can do that. You know all about the Candlekeep, and you know all the like the location, you know all the different NPCs if they ask you, and then you can build on that from there. I really like that. That's one of the positives I have about this book. I also like that they, like Scott said, they give you an A3 map of Candlekeep, which is really cool, that you can either put on your on your wall, or you can use it as a reference, like when you're playing. Eventually, when we go back to playing in pubs or in person, you can have it on the table and you can go, where do you want to go? And they go, I want to go here, which is cool. I like that there's a lot of variety with the adventures. It's not just one style. There's a bit of comedy in there from Amy Vorpahl and stuff like that, and there's other, like, things in there, like the Chinese influence on some of the on one of the adventures, and there's like I won't go into it, but there's like a Studio Ghibli-esque like adventure in a bathhouse, which I really like. So there's just so much variety here, and you've got 17 adventures that you can just take from whatever you want. You've also got great NPCs. I think the NPCs are really good here. They've really worked. Each of the writers have really fleshed out all these NPCs that when you're playing, you can really work well as a DM to portray these cool NPCs. Great art as well. Those are sort of the good things about this book I really like. Scott, do you want to talk about the good things, or
Briefly.
Only
briefly about the good things, and then we'll move on to the not so good things.
I mean, I should have ended on the good things rather than
Yeah, I mean, it's the compliment sandwich. You do good things, and then you give the negatives. I mean, you've clearly never given constructive feedback, but never mind.
I'm a team leader as well, so imagine what that's like. You're shit.
You're just going to get some of those soul-catching gloves and start punching people, aren't you? To be like, okay, I'm healing myself.
I agree with most of what Ross said. It's a good book. I think it's a worthy addition to any Dungeon Master's library, simply because of the easy drag and drop nature of it. The anthology style allows for a lot of freedom, and in such you can take a little piece of this cake and drop it into your game. I think that's wonderful. That's good. The added diversity as well is only going to help fantasy worlds. And my bad things are appendix. That's the thing, and I'm not quite sure about the map decision, but there's enough good stuff in this book to balance those things out as far as I'm concerned. Those are my final thoughts.
Yes, it does sound terrific. But Will makes a good point. This sounds so cool, but I feel that if I got it, I'd never get all the adventures to the table. I mean, by the sounds of it, they are short enough that you could squeeze them in. But maybe it'd be something. He said he bought something like this for Call of Cthulhu, Mandy, many years ago, and so many of the adventures are still unplayed. It's true. I guess that would have to be a decision you'd make as a DM if this is something you're going to squeeze in a lot. I personally think this is definitely something I would get for my shelf, to be like, I'm gonna have them find a book, or because you could literally, as has been said quite a few times, have that crop up anywhere, in a dusty attic, in a dungeon, in anywhere you want. Like, you could throw one of these books in and have a bit of light relief. I think you said that earlier, Scott, didn't you? Just something a little bit different, a bit of a Studio Ghibli romp, a bit of a thing around this, a bit of a blood vendetta or whatever else is going on. I think it sounds great.
The things that come out to me is like a little bit annoying is weirdly thin pages. Scott didn't get this because he's got the PDF, but I don't know if it's the book that I have, but like the pages are thin. The stock of the page seems thin, and you're looking at me very confusedly, but
Do you think they sent you a uniquely thin book, Ross?
no, but like
given the diet edition, we want diet Candlekeep for that, Hobson.
Hey, I'm giving you feedback about it, like because it actually does affect it because it creases the book when you're holding it, especially when the pages are that thin. I don't know if they've changed their the stock of their paper, but for me that's something that's a bit odd. I was like, oh, this
you want to go at Wizards of the Coast for saving trees? Yeah,
no, I'm not. I'm just saying that it just feels different.
I love it. I love it. You've had
Being
this book.
I'm with you, Ross. I like a heavy.
Yeah,
exactly. I do. I love the fact that Ross has had this book for a week and it's turned him into a true academic who is now arguing about the stock of his the paper used in his books. It really needs to be a bit heavier gauge.
Much like perhaps one of the Avowed.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It's true. It's true, but I do also agree. Having because it does. Neo points out, of course, it reduces the durability. And yes, you want to save trees, but also you want to have this book for decades, decades and decades. You don't want it crumbling.
So three more, and then that's it. And it's very quick. I would have liked to have seen more hooks for the adventures, like as in, I feel that some of the adventures that I read, the hooks to get the players invested in it are kind of a little bit like you're going to have to need to work to make, depending on what kind of players you have, because sometimes some players may not want to just go for loot or just because of the mystery. So you may have to work in another way as to get your players hooked on that adventure. They may already know that they're going on this adventure, so they would maybe just follow it along anyway. But I'm just saying that is a possible concern for me, that some of the ones that I read, the way you get the players to go along on this adventure is kind of a little bit weak, and it requires you as a DM to really work at it. I don't know if you found that, Scott, when you possibly read through them. Maybe it was my ones that I read through, but
maybe it was the thin nature of the adventures from the thin.
I don't mean that they're it just that's something to be aware of when you're running them, is maybe as a DM to be aware of what your players are like when you're running them. And then lastly, the appendix is one of the things that Scott said, and that's one of mine. And then the last thing is more possibilities. I would have liked to have seen more possibilities for extending the stories. There was a couple in the ones that I read that had a little thing after that says you could possibly go on to do this about this. This could be a bad guy in your next thing. And then I read a load more that didn't really have that. Didn't have a conclusion or a thing after. They don't necessarily have to be that. I know that they are short one shots, but I would have liked to have seen to give you the option as a DM to have that there. Because if you're a new DM, you might be like, oh, I could use this and then create a campaign around it. That's what I would have liked to have seen more of. I feel that there was a bit of a lack of extending these stories beyond what they were, which is fine. It's a swing and roundabouts. You take it for what it is. It's a one shot.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I'm loving some of the chat we're having from the Dangerlings. David comes up with the idea, of course, and we've had this every DM or GM's faced this when your players don't show up that week. So you're stuck with a couple of weeks where someone's gone off on holiday or something like that, and you could just go, right, you guys, I'm going to throw this in. Now, I think each of you has done that for me as DMs, but how useful would it be to have a book where you could be like, right, okay, next couple of weeks we are doing this.
Yeah, really good.
So I think just to sum up, would you buy this book based upon it, Ross Harmston?
Yes, I would. It's £32 on Amazon, I think it was.
A local game shop.
Yeah, I'm just giving you of how much it is.
Yeah.
So it's around £30. I think it's worth to have on your shelf. If you're a new DM and you want to do like a one shot, and then you maybe want to create a campaign out of it, I think it's a really good tool, and it's only gonna. I think that you can benefit from having this on your shelf.
Cool. And Dan, would you buy this book?
I would say it certainly sounds interesting. Anything that makes me interested in the Forgotten Realms, I think is a good thing, because it is traditionally a setting that does not do much for me. So, and there's some interesting stuff in here. I would say, as a caution, if you are still playing remotely, or if that is how you intend to play, the Roll20 version of this is $50. So be prepared to spend quite a bit of money if you want to put it on Roll20.
Fair. That seems to be a continuing trend. Everyone seems to be at the expensive releases at the moment, but hopefully we'll see the prices dip in the near future. And Scott, would you buy this book?
No, I would not buy this book.
Get out.
I would buy it. I would buy the special edition at a game store. No, seriously, I'm a big tablet guy. I have everything on D&D Beyond, which is a great little tool. But I would actually wait and get the book, the hardcore book, because I like the different cover that much. And then everything else that Ross said as well.
Sweet. Okay, so it is generally a pretty big thumbs up for us in the Candlekeep Mysteries. I'm really excited to hear about it, and certainly it was something that you love to. We mentioned sort of you're getting more diversity in there, you're getting different stories, you're getting. It sounds like a lot of fun. And sadly, thank you very much for bearing with us. We have overrun the timings as a little bit, which we tend to do for reviews, to do things justice rather than cut things short. But this has been terrific, hasn't it, guys? I mean, I've really enjoyed it. Scott's candle is still burning. I can't help but feel that'll be the first single released by, what were you guys called? Scoss.
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 It's not like
Rot.
a disease.
Yeah, you're right. Our made-up name sounds sensible, Jay.
Scoss.
Yes, Scoss.
So check out Scoss, at nowhere near you very soon. Everyone likes Scrots. Rot? No? Let's just move on. Now, of course, as a little bit of light relief for the disco at the end, some leggings check, please, Dan.
Oh my goodness! Well, that's a late one. Here we are.
It is. Well, I didn't want to mid
I've
review.
gone full rainbow pony today. I am.
Nice.
There we are.
There we go. Look at that.
We're in unicorn territory.
There we go. So if you're feeling a little bit down and under the blues, just have a look at Dan. There we go. He is a living kaleidoscope. And, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for joining us here on Dangerous Wednesdays. You can, of course, pick this audio up again if you're a Patreon subscriber, and we'll have the VODs and bits and bobs and things. So it is goodbye from Dan.
Thank you. Well done to Ross. Ross put in a ton of work getting this review together. So shout out to you, man. It was really good.
He did. That's great.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely week. Be safe. We will see you next week.
Yes, it's goodbye from the candle in the dark. Scott, Wolfgang Logofile Hemingway.
I extinguish the flame and step back into the darkness once more.
You're still there?
Hour and a half he's been waiting to do that.
And he's still there. He hasn't disappeared anywhere.
I laugh if his alarm just went beep, beep, beep.
And thank you, of course, to the wonderful Ross Harmstead. And well done for the big review. Ross?
Scoss and Scoss, it's Scoss, the review. Why don't you listen to the Scoss review? They're gonna review things. It's the Scoss review. Scoss. Get your fucking Scoss out.
Right. I knew my hand was poised over the button to cut that short, and I've never wished I'd followed my instincts more in my life. This has been me, James Foxy Lockhart, wishing you stay Wednesdays. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Wednesdays.